What's up, everybody? Jamel Gibbs, your family-oriented entrepreneur. Welcome to the Deal Pro podcast. Today, we got my man, Sawand Belcher, back in the building. Now, listen, Sawand has been on my channel a number of times. We've done podcasts and vlogs, and I've been on his channel. Today, we're going to talk about something important, though. Obviously, the market has shifted. We're in a buyer's market right now. So what we want to talk about today is how you guys can take advantage of this buyer's market and the strategies that we are both using in today's market in order to be able to continue making money. It's not what it looked like a year ago. It's not what it looked like 2-3 years ago. It's not even what it looks like 6 months ago.
Amen.
What's happening right now? And I think that you guys are going to benefit from this. So stay tuned with that. So listen, you've been on the channel a while. Well, you've been on the channel before, I should say.
It's been a progression.
It has, man.
Honestly, because I think the first time we shot was maybe in 2019,
20?
Yeah, 2019. Like probably 2019.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Because I was still in my office the first time we shot.
It's possible.
Yeah,
bro.
So that
it's
was
been
definitely
a while.
2019. So it's 2025 now. So, if you guys go back and look at some of those other videos, you'll probably see a progression.
And it's been a lot of fun over the years, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously we have some newcomers, man. So tell them a little bit about yourself, bro.
Man, like I told everybody at the farm over the weekend, I'm a believer. Other than that, ain't got no titles. But I'm a full-time real estate investor. How
many years?
Full-time 8 years. Full-time. I did it while I was at the car dealership, but full-time 8 years, which is dope. It's amazing to be in the game another year. Another year. But 6 kids. I'm running rentals, running a flip operation, and then of course everything is private money. So I almost run the real estate as like an investment firm. Whenever I'm talking to people, which is weekly, about investing, typically, I pitch them packages and programs. So I'm kind of running it like a firm these days.
You know what I love about what you do, because it's similar to what I do, man. I mean, we got a lot in common, right? But I use real estate investing kind of like music artists use the music industry, so they could get the money from that and then branch out into other things.
Absolutely.
Man. And you're like the epitome of that. You know what I'm saying? So like you're using real estate to be able to branch out. And I'm like, I'm just telling my wife the other day, I said, yo, this dude Sawand is doing like a rodeo type of thing. Right? That's nuts, man. So
it is amazing.
A lot going on, man. So let's talk about that for a second, man. I know you had this, what did you call it? Like a farmer's type of thing?
Yeah, so there's different levels to it, but we called it a trail ride.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, if you guys go back into some of the videos, we actually did like an introduction when I first bought it wasn't a farm at the time. I bought it as a residential property. It was 22 acres. But over the weekend, we had a trail ride. People come out, they get a chance to chill on the farm, eat food, buy some blackberries, but then also we ride some horses. Just a good time. Had a little DJ out, and I had like 120 people out. It was a good time.
And I know the bag is crazy, man.
Bro, the bag is definitely awesome. So it's cool. It's different to see how like rental real estate is good. Don't get me wrong, but business is like it's easier to make more money in one, in one thing. So it's different. You can make I guess we can get into money, if you like, but you can definitely make a good amount of money.
For sure, man.
Easily. But it's still real estate, though. That's why I try to tell people it's still real estate. You just using that real estate differently. Yeah. The use of it is different.
Absolutely, man. So you got a lot going on, and like you said, you're utilizing that property in order to be able to make all of these things happen.
Absolutely. It's like house hacking.
That's right.
So like when I was in college, the way a house hack was, you get an apartment that you rent it. It'll be 2 or 3 bedrooms. You use some free furniture you found off of Freebies or Craigslist or Facebook, and then you rent out those rooms and you use your income to cover your spot.
Right.
And then when you graduate and buy a house, then you get a duplex, right? And you rent out one side that covers your expenses. Now, I just feel like I graduated. Now you just got a bigger house with more opportunity, and now you're using those opportunities to once again cover your expenses there.
So that leads into the conversation, really, man, because at the end of the day, we both know the market changed.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
House flipping was great a year ago.
Absolutely.
You got to be really careful with house flipping right now.
It is. You can still make money, but you definitely got to pencil 3 times.
You could definitely, exactly. Yep. You got to, how you say it, measure once or what?
Measure twice.
Measure twice, cut once.
Absolutely.
You got to do that. today, for sure. It's not as easy as it was. And also the price points matter. So like
price points matter.
If you're going up, and I was just telling the client yesterday, man, we went to the auction. I said, yeah, this is a $550,000 house. But how many people are going to be able to afford a $550,000 house right now? You want to stay under 250, 200, right? 285
and
right
now.
Okay,
let's call it market wise. Mm-hmm. So let's first do your market research and see how many people you got in your area, like the population.
Right.
And then like we got Guilford County, but then there's also counties around it that's smaller. Mm-hmm. So, and then you take the income, right? You do like an average income and a median income, and then you just do some basic math about how much money those people with the average income can actually afford on a monthly payment, and then you stay in that price range where average people can afford.
Super important when it comes to market research, and people they don't really get it, man.
Yeah.
So it's not about the deal. Well, it's always about the deal, but sometimes you got to look at the price point as well.
Oh yeah, it's all about price.
It's got to be affordable.
It's all about price point,
especially right now.
Absolutely.
Now they are talking about dropping interest rates. Trump is pushing for that.
They've been talking about that for years at this point, though.
So we can't rely on it.
Yeah.
But there's other ways to buy properties. One of them is the way that you use in order to buy your house.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about it, man. Seller financing, bro.
Okay, so I keep seller financing extremely simple. It can be difficult, but I keep it simple. I only offer making the seller payments over time if they have a paid off property. Now, so you can reverse engineer that to find those people, which would be just creating a list of houses, that are free and clear, that have no first lien position. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I mean, at that point, once you got a list, all it is just reaching out to them in some form or fashion. In my opinion, with the way, since it is a buyer's market, there's more people out here spending more money on marketing, and you don't want to outspend yourself on marketing compared to the deals that you end up acquiring. Internet or knocking on their door, because you need the strongest lead sources right now. I'm definitely seeing people spend too much money on marketing, and then when they collect those deals, the net just not, they missed it.
And when you say internet, you're talking about SEO or PPC or PPL?
I'm talking PPC. Mm-hmm. PPL is cool.
Nah, I don't like it.
But like, you don't know where people. You don't know where people getting their leads from. I much rather
source the leads yourself.
Yeah, you need to learn. You need to learn how to retarget. You need to learn how to set up ads. You need to learn how, like, Facebook does not want to take their people to your website because now it takes them off Facebook. Mm-hmm. You need to learn that, and you'll only learn that by doing it. Right. It's like, oh dang, my ad spend just went up. I got less leads. Right. Let me create a Facebook lead form. Yep. Let me create a Facebook business page. Oh, my ad spend just went down because I left them on Facebook on my business page.
It'd be more enticed to push it. Right. That's what happens with my PPC campaigns. And for the record, I use Meta for it. You know what I mean? I run Google and Facebook traffic, but I get better lead quality when I'm doing lead forms. You would think it was the other way around because people got to work a little bit to go to your website. Yeah. And then they got to fill out a form and all that stuff. But it's better. You get better, higher quality leads, in my opinion, when you use the lead form directly off of Facebook. Absolutely. And you don't have to build a website, man.
Absolutely. And you don't have to build. And I tell everybody that too. Like, you don't have to spend the $200 or $500 or $1,000 to build a website. Just, Facebook is great.
That's it, man.
Facebook is great.
So seller financing, man. So you pull a list. This is something that we spoke about a lot on my channel. Yeah. But we have a bunch of newbies that, people they're just visiting the channel. They don't know nothing about it. Let's act like we're talking to that person.
Absolutely.
What is seller financing, bro?
Essentially is giving people, normal everyday people, the opportunity to do what the Bible told them that they could do, which was become the lender and not the borrower. And that's the way I pitch it. Right. Because people can relate to that. Mm-hmm. They can understand that.
Especially in the Bible Belt.
Right. And when they think about that scripture in the Bible, they like, I always wondered how I was going to do that, and then so you give people that opportunity to do that. So what happens is the lender is a deed of trust. In some states it's called a mortgage, but in North Carolina it's a deed of trust. Mm-hmm. You then become the owner, right? So which is the warranty deed. So now in order for you to continue to be the owner, you have to satisfy the deed of trust and promissory note. So that is, you promise to make them payments, whatever those payments are, for however long, at whatever time frame, mm-hmm. and you get to continue to be on the warranty deed. So essentially, you say, hey, do you want to sell? Yes, I want to sell. Great. How much do you want? Awesome. I'm not saying I can or cannot do that price, but if I were able to do that price, would you consider a fair amount down and you receive the remainder of your profits over time?
Right.
So, and that's how I explain it.
Very similar to how I pitch it, man. I have a slight tweak with it. I just say, look, you become the bank and I'm paying you as the bank over a period of time.
Absolutely.
It's the same concept, right? So now with seller financing, do you need a lot of money down? A lot of people have that question.
That's all up to how you negotiate. Okay. And that's all up to how you negotiate.
That's it, man.
That is really, I've had deals that I put together where I don't have a payment for 3 months, mm-hmm. 6 months,
right.
a year, but that's all up to how you negotiate. See, in the terms of the deal, you have how much payment you're going to make them, the down payment, the price, the interest, and then also like balloon, mm-hmm. So you got all these different things. What I like to do is find out what's most important to them first. And then if I'm able to, so let's say they just got to get this price, mm-hmm. right? Well, I can do their price at 0 interest.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because now my monthly payments are lower. It's all going towards principal.
Right.
I've done that several times. Because they're not thinking about interest,
It amazes me how many people don't understand that concept, man. I got this video on YouTube, how to buy your first rental property even if you're broke. I cracked 3 million views.
Nice.
Right?
Oh, that's awesome.
But the problem is a lot of people, majority of people don't understand it.
Yeah.
And then the 1% that's hating on it, they just don't understand how business works.
For sure. Absolutely.
You can get whatever you want if you ask for it,
Facts.
number one. And if you can negotiate it into the deal, then it materializes into what you want it to be.
Absolutely.
People just don't understand that concept, man. I can go and tell everybody that the sky is red knowing that it's blue. And if I can get enough people to believe that the sky is red, the sky is red.
Absolutely.
I can ask 100 people for $100. Somebody's going to eventually give me $100, but I would never get it if I don't ask
Absolutely.
enough people.
Absolutely.
Same concept with seller financing, man. So you mentioned pulling a list, knowing where you're getting your leads from, right?
Yeah.
Start with free and clear properties. And for the record, you technically can't do a full-blown seller finance deal on a property that has a mortgage on it anyway,
right.
unless it's subject to.
Right. That just makes it more difficult.
Right.
So that's why it just keep it extremely simple. And like one person asked me the other day, they signed up for a call. It's like, well, do I really have to buy a list, in order to, to go after these deals? The answer is no. Mm-hmm. It's just that, if you got a list of 3,000, it's a lot easier to shoot your shot at 3,000 right. versus, assuming or guessing, if the house that you see might be paid off or not.
Right. That's powerful, man. And that's powerful as well when it comes to marketing because you hit different lists. So I'm not going to hit a probate list the same way I'm going to hit
facts
seller finance list. So that's marketing 101. So just understanding the messaging that you're putting out
absolutely
in front of people.
Absolutely.
That's super important as well, man. But when it comes to these seller finance deals, how many offers would you say you're making? Or how many connections would you say you're making in order to be able to get one?
For me, it might be different than some other people because I'm really good at talking.
Right, experience.
I'm really good at talking.
Let's talk to the beginner.
Yeah, so for the beginners, I say make 5 offers a day. Mm-hmm. and you're gonna get one. You're gonna get one yes. Mm-hmm. So essentially, that's you making 30 offers. Assuming you don't work on Sundays. One
offer per day over a period of
no, I'm talking month. 5. You make 5 offers a day, so you make 30 offers. You're gonna get one person to say yes.
Got it.
And assuming you're not that good, that one deal might not close.
Right.
But assuming every 30 offers you make, you're gonna get one person to say yes.
That's a fact, man.
You know what I'm saying? And I say the deal might not close because you might get it locked up too high, or you might, a title issue might come up. But the beautiful thing about seller financing, is a lot of the issues that you're going to have in a traditional deal is not the same issue
right.
in a seller financing deal. Okay, example. Okay, I bought a house I bought a house in Brown Summit, Chrisman, on Chrisman Road. Awesome spot. Okay. The lady has a judgment. Okay. A judgment from a roofing company, has a judgment from the hospital, and has a judgment from a window company. Okay. She also got a federal judgment from the IRS. Okay. But they expire in 3 years. Was it 3? Was it 2 years or 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think you got, is it 10 years, a 10-year period for the IRS to drop off?
Yeah, it's a 10 years for the federal,
right.
and it's 7 for civil. So those civil judgments expire in 7 years. They can't renew, but federal is 10 years.
And just to be clear, with the IRS,
Yep.
they don't renew.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't renew.
They don't renew. So that judgment is simply going to drop off.
Absolutely. As long as you can afford to buy your time, which is why seller financing can be powerful.
Exactly.
So what we did was we bought the property seller financing with $1,000 down, okay? And we paid her payments, okay? We didn't get any title insurance. We didn't get any title because we're only risking $1,000 at that point, okay? No payments past that. Assuming we get a clear title, the only thing she has to do later is once we get a clear title, she signs and she receives another $1,000. The reason why we did it like that is because if I needed her to help me with something to clear the title, I wanted to let her know she could get another little $1,000. Okay. Anyway, 3 years later, clear title.
Look at that.
Okay.
See?
By the way, we were $4,000 in on the attorney work during that time. We're $1,000 in on her, and then we're $4,000 in on the taxes. Okay, 4-bedroom, 3-bath house on 2 acres, Brown Summit. How much is that house, Jamel?
Oh, it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, how much for real? How much is that
That
house?
house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I mean, you're over $500,000 right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so. So my partner doesn't want to sell right now, but I was like, bro, I want to sell.
What would you say the value on it would be?
$350
in 3 years from now.
Well, right now
I'm thinking $500,000.
Oh, absolutely. Right now it's $350. One of the neighbors sold theirs for $350, and it's almost exactly like it. I say in another 5 years, it's definitely gonna be $500,000.
I was gonna say 400, man. But
I feel like right now, if I did the right upgrades to it, it could be definitely a $500,000.
$500,000.
Yeah, because so it's a fenced in 2 acres. In order to get that $500,000, you redo the whole fence. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a upstairs, downstairs. There's only a half bath upstairs, but there's 2 bedrooms upstairs, and there's.
What's the square footage again?
This one is I think it's like 3,100.
That's easily a $500,000 out there, bro.
Bro, that's what I'm saying, bro. But we didn't put a lot of money into it because of the title issues.
I got you.
We've been renting it ever since then for, I think it's rented for $1,550. But technically it could be rented for more.
Yeah.
But only because we haven't done a lot of stuff to it. We've done stuff to it, but not a lot.
So the good thing is, like you said, the IRS won't renew. Now
Absolutely.
the others they might.
Yeah.
But the IRS, they won't renew.
Absolutely.
After 10 years. That's it. Right?
This is powerful because everybody else that came in before us to buy this deal from this lady, they didn't know. They couldn't buy it. They backed out because they see these issues. But we're able to take advantage because we know.
And that's my point, bro. So a lot of people watching this video, they're brand new. This might scare them.
Yeah.
Right? How much of this did you know before you put this deal together?
No, I didn't know any of it. When I got the deal, I had the faith to say, well, $1,000, I got that. And if it gets me in control of a house, I can figure it out. Okay. So when I went to go to take this paperwork to the closing attorney, I said, tell me all of my options. I know he's going to have title issues, so don't tell me it got title issues.
Right.
I'm going to close on it either way. Okay. Even if it's a quick claim deed, just tell me all of my issues and tell me how I could solve them. So he wrote down a solution for all of them. The hospital joint, he had reached out to the hospital. Apparently they had already put it on their taxes as a loss. So they can't collect. They were out. The roofing claim, he went back and you can see the date of when they did the judgment. And then he explained this is when they expire. And they can renew, but because the deed will be different because it's not her name anymore, it would be in our LLC's name because the deed would be different. It wouldn't reattach to the property. It would only reattach to another property if she went out and bought another one, And I was like, okay. He said the IRS. He said that's probably like your biggest issue. He said, but
and that's really a moot point, man.
And he essentially what he said. He's like, you know, where the market is right now, I don't think they're gonna come for it, but I know I can get this settled for you.
Yeah.
So what they end up doing was settling it from 40,000. They didn't settle it for her, but they settled it off of our house. Mm-hmm. So they went from 40,000, allowed us to pay them 4,000, okay, and they would remove the judgment from our house. They didn't remove it from her, but they removed it from our house. And so when he came up with all those different solutions, I'm like, well, if I can rent out this property for $1,500, you know, Mr. Business Partner, I did that deal with Kendall. You buy 50%, you know, ownership. Mm-hmm. Pay me $12,000, right? And then this is how much we're gonna use all this rent to cover these fees, and then we'll be free and clear in this amount of time.
Yeah,
that was my first real creative deal. That was my first really
That's my point, bro. Yeah. So you didn't know anything.
No.
And you just put a creative.
No. I didn't have nothing to lose.
You put your creative thinking cap on, right? But you also asked for help.
Absolutely.
What you didn't know, you found out.
Absolutely.
And you wasn't afraid to move forward with it. That's where most people fail. If you think about it.
Yeah.
They think too much, man. They think themselves out of the deal. You mentioned a couple of investors that had the property under contract before, and they just didn't know.
They had it under contract cash.
They didn't know. They didn't put the creative thinking on.
They had it under contract cash for $90,000, but of course, the 140 hospital bill knocked that out completely.
One trick ponies, man.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to teach different strategies on the channel, because I'm a well-rounded real estate investor just like you are.
Absolutely.
And when you have all of these different tools in your tool belt, you can use them for different things in order to be able to get the job done.
Absolutely. Excuse me. Absolutely. And no, this was the perfect example of it. But in the market that we're in right now, where days on market are longer, you know, in my opinion, this is the time to practice and execute these kind of transactions.
Why is that important, bro?
You can still flip the house.
Yeah.
You can, because once you're the owner, you can always do a flip.
Or sell on a lease option.
Yeah, or sell on a lease option. But when you buy terms like this, when you buy 30 years or buy 20 years or buy 7 years, you're not forced to sell the property in 6 months.
Right.
With these hard money guys, or even if you put an agreement together with private money, or if you're using your cash, and average days on market 65 days, your contractors are now 30 days behind. Oh shoot. Now you get hit with extra points. Next thing you know, you're 90 days behind. You in default. You deeding the property back to your private money guy, or you deeding it back to your hard money person. And it's just like, oh, that whole thing was a loss. I just wasted 9 months of my life. Versus if you are come up with terms with the seller, and you have them agree to 7 years, 15 years, 30 years. If it doesn't sell, now we get a renter, because in a buyer's market, people are renting.
That's it, man.
People are renting.
Yep. And even the renter's market is becoming scarce right now. So
absolutely.
But
the availability.
Availability is scarce, man, which is jacking the prices up even more.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot that you can do with seller financing, right? We understand you can buy rental properties with it, which is always a play that I like.
Facts.
Long-term cash, especially I'm 44, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to build for the future, because you can't put in the same energy even past 50. It's hard for somebody in their 50s.
I don't want to work as hard as I did 8 years ago.
That's my point, bro. When you're 20 and 30, it's hard for somebody that's 50 years old, even 40s. It's hard to put in the same kind of effort that you were when you were 20 and 30.
Absolutely.
So you got to do things that can accumulate monthly revenue. But another play when it comes to seller financing is getting the seller involved.
Absolutely.
So you do seller financing, and maybe if you got a little bit of money or a couple of lines of credit, that's where fixing and flipping comes into play.
Absolutely.
So you can seller finance a property, and then you can get the money from somewhere else to be able to put the money into the property.
Now that's one of the easiest ways to raise money.
Better than getting hard money, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I don't know if you noticed, the first creative thing about that Christmas deal is I raised money for it. You know, once I got the solution, I bought it to a partner, and he was willing to fund it for me. And if it's a lot easier to raise 12 grand, 20 grand than it is 150.
That's right.
So if you're coming up with these deals that they cannot find nowhere, they'll be like, oh, I've lost 10 grand before. Let's try it out. And it's absolutely, it's amazing.
So what do you feel are the best strategies to use in this buyer's market right now?
I mean, first of all, the strategy I'm going to say is getting good at getting leads in every day, and then getting disciplined enough to make offers on those leads every day. That's what's most important in my opinion right now.
Because you can't put a deal together without the leads.
Yeah, I think that's most important. And while you're making offers, the strategy has to include a time frame that's fair, considerate, and manageable. I remember raising money on like, oh yeah, I'll flip this money in 60 days. This is not the market for that. This is not the market for that. Nope. And it's okay to be truthful and honest with the people that you're doing business. Right. We not doing no 90-day flips. No. If it happens in 90 days, praise God. But we're going to agree to 12, 24, 36 because you just need more time. You definitely need more time. And on those flips, they got to be nicer. So the quality of your product has to be better, and it's going to take more time. So that means that your numbers, when you do your numbers, you need to make sure you have more fluff for that interest, more fluff for that extra material, more fluff, for that for those nicer ceiling fans that you about to throw in there for wifey.
And you got to be super conservative with your numbers, man.
Absolutely.
Like you said, more fluff, but even on a purchase side, if you're not doing seller financing and you're going after hard money, you notice the hard money lenders are asking for way more money out of pocket now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They want more skin in the game.
Way more skin in the game.
Yeah, they want more skin in the game.
This is a buyer's market, guys, and the deals are readily available, but you got to adjust based on the market and the conditions that we're under right now. So the other day, about a week ago, I called you up. I said, look, how many rental properties are you holding right now? And you said...
So right now I have 71.
71 rental properties. Now, I asked you...
It fluctuates.
I asked you, so how many of those rental properties did you take financing on? Not seller financing, just regular financing.
Well, none of them regular financing, but right now I have about like 25 to 30 of them with regular bank financing. But the acquisition was never bank financing.
All through
creative finance. So seller finance subject to or raising private money.
That's it.
Yeah.
So how many of those would you say are seller financed or subject to right now? Creative finance.
About 35, 36 of them right now.
So you got about half.
Oh, and then another 8 subject to. So a little over 40.
So a little over 40 properties you picked up subject to. How many times did you use your credit? How many times did you have to use your money or a lot of experience in order to be able to make that happen?
None. Now, I will say some people, the bigger deals you do that you're trying to do creatively, they will start to ask for your credit. But I always go back to, let me ask my attorney to write me a reference letter. Let me, you know what I mean? Yeah. Let me get a video testimony of somebody that I'm doing a deal with or I paid them off. Let me get a video testimony and send that to them. Because I let them know that this is what you really want. You don't want my credit. What you really want to know is that I'm reliable, that I'm faithful, that I'm a good business person. Right. So here you go. So that's how, because when you start making these kind of deals on the MLS, because they own the MLS right now, they're gonna want something, and so that's what you give to them. You're not gonna give them your credit. You're gonna give them a credibility packet. That's what I call it. Yeah. Of that you can do good business.
And it's interesting you said that because I told you that I'm opening up a retail store. Yeah. For my kids are. I'm opening up with my kids.
Amen.
A retail store, and first thing the guy said, he said, I don't care about credit. Now we're good on credit, but he said I don't even care about the credit. Because that don't really mean nothing these days.
Absolutely.
This is the guy who's about to sign a lease with us.
Absolutely.
Right? So he cares about character.
Absolutely.
And so that ties into what you just said. Send them a video. They want to make sure that your character is up to par.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? In order to be able to do business with
people doing business with people. They're not doing business with credit scores.
That's right.
We doing business with people.
That's
and at the end of the day, like I was telling Rondell, I was telling him right before you walked in, I know I can do business with you if we can talk about bad business. Even a great business has had a up and down period.
Right.
But the business relationship that we have should only get stronger as we go through something bad, you know, and then when we come out, woo, we did it. You know what I'm saying? You know, so, you know, yeah.
But yeah, man. So the reason I brought up the rental property thing is because, you know, it just shows that you don't need banks in order to be able to build your future.
Yeah, I didn't start using banks until Clubhouse, and they started talking about now's a good time to start using banks.
It is,
you know, and honestly, I had 30 properties at that time already, so it was just like, let's try it out on something I already have, because you know I was using private money. 30-year notes at 14%. Right. So even if a bank could give me 8%, 10%, right, I was gonna save and I could do cash out, and that's what happened. I was getting cash out on those refinances. So yeah.
And for the record, I actually met Sawand 5 years ago on Clubhouse.
Right.
So
yeah.
That's how we came across each other's paths and didn't even realize we were in the same area. But that's the importance of networking too, man.
Absolutely.
How important it is that, especially when it comes to private money.
Yo. Networking is a daily thing.
Yep.
Okay. So when I go to lunch, I sit at the bar, and I do that, you know, because there's somebody to the left of you and there's somebody to the right of you. If you go and sit down at a table and you sit there with your laptop or whatever, nobody's coming over. Right. Nobody's talking to you. But every time you sit at the bar, you always get a chance to hit 1 and 2. This is what happened. This is what happened. I'm at the bar, just like normal. I go to Natty Greens. That's just kind of it's a nice networking spot. You get all kinds of people in there. And somebody that normally sees me, she's over here in the corner off of the bar, and I'm maybe like 10 tables down. She brings in a friend. She said, "Hey, yo, that's the real estate dude. You need to go talk to him." So shout out to the referral that she gave me, because that was great. Okay. But also these people around here, everybody around here just found out what I do now. So now what we doing after the introduction? Everybody's talking. You know, so from that table, actually, I had a private money meeting from that table that day. You know what I'm saying? From that table, I met Zantuan, you know? And from Zantuan, the house that I got under contract this weekend, he gave me a seller that I got under contract. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so networking is a daily thing, and it's absolutely important.
So you met Zantuan sitting there?
I met him through one of those people that was there. Through that girl, actually. I can't even remember her name, because she go to some of his parties and stuff like that.
Got you.
And yeah.
Sawand plugged me in, and this is how important networking is as well. Sawand plugged me in with Zantuan. We kind of throwing names around right now, but yeah. Plugged me in with him because I'm looking to throw a pretty good sized concert in this area. I reached out to DeAndre the other day about it as well. And this is a concert that I know this is a hot spot for this type of concert. And that same type of concert is the type of retail store I'm opening up in this area as well.
Nice.
Now, this is not my idea. This came from my kids. I'm not going to give it away because absolutely, it's a bag involved. But when you know people who know people who know people, and you can network with these people, everybody gets to make money. Sawand needs me for anything, he can reach out, and that's how we do things.
Look, my Uncle Snake told me a couple weeks ago they came up to hang out at the crib and chill with me. They came unannounced, but it was an amazing time. Yeah. He said, yo, if you hang out with people that are watching TV, they're gonna tell you about the TV show they watch. If you hang out with people that just got a bag, they just made 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand, they gonna tell you how they just made 30 grand, 50 grand.
Right.
Either way,
I love that.
Either way, you're gonna end up doing what your friend just did. You know, and so that's what literally, it's my uncle that's like, you know, it's Uncle Snake, you know. That's what we call him. So that might give you like an outer appearance of what my uncle, you know, it's just that's like a real thing, you know. You gotta be networking up.
That's right, man. Yeah. So how important is creative finance right now, bro?
Oh, it's the most important thing that I'm doing. It's the most important thing that I'm doing. And it's the most important. I don't even know. It's if you're not doing it, you're missing out. If you're not doing it, you're missing out.
Absolutely.
You know, every single offer for me right now is creative financing. You know, my goal at this point, I think I told you, I'm definitely selling off some of my houses to pay off my main house. But everything that I'm adding to keep, it's seller financing.
Seller financing.
Yeah, it's or it's private money on 30-year, 15-year notes. So yeah,
and that's important. Number one, because we're in a buyer's market.
Yeah.
But number two, to me, seller financing money is cheap, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. On my house, okay, 4%. Okay, when I had Brian Elam close that deal and he did the promissory note, he's like, yo, it's $1 million loan. He said, first thing is this is a jumbo loan. So you go to a bank, they instantly add 3 points.
Yep.
So whatever the average is plus 3 points, before anything. And praise God. Praise God. Because that house, I mean, realistically, that's amazing.
It's got to be worth $3 million plus, right? What you think?
What I think is that my house is 5 bedrooms, 5.5 baths, 6,000 square feet, but the unfinished is 3,000 square feet, but it's unfinished. Okay. It sits on 22 acres. My neighbor, bless his heart, he don't put his house up for sale. He got a 3,000 square foot house, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. He has 10 acres. He put it up for $957. Assuming he gets 800, okay? My house is double the size of his. Assuming, so on a safe bet, I got a 1.6, $1.7 million house.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's what I think it is. If I had to, based off of
I think it's over that, bro.
My aunt says that too. My aunt says, she said minimum is a $2 million house. I don't know what
I was thinking 2.5, bro.
Yeah. I don't care what it is. The terms I got are so good. My property taxes, because of the farm, my property taxes are cheaper than my 1,800 square foot house, 3 bedroom, 2 bath house with 1 acre that we was living in before.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like my property taxes are less than $2,000
on
a
Huh? You know why?
I guess because I'm better.
You're in the county, bro.
And the zoning.
Yeah,
and the zoning. So
I pay way less property taxes, but the water bill is going to be a lot higher. But are you on a septic?
I'm on a well. I'm on well and septic.
Well and septic.
Yeah. So
so you're good,
water
man.
Come out the ground.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, man. And how old are you, bro?
I'm 34.
34, and you've been investing since.
I bought my first one when I was 24.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was my very first house when I was 24.
So for those of you who are in your 20s right now, trying to figure out life,
what you risk in your 20s is what you enjoy in your 30s.
There you go.
What you risk in your 30s is what you enjoy in your 40s. So
I worked my entire 20s and 30, well, half of my 30s to build up.
Yeah.
And now I'm just kind of figuring out what I want to do.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it.
You know what I mean? I'm having fun right now, and that's what it's all about, man. But you position yourself when you're young so that you won't have to do as much when you get older. Sawand, man, how can our listeners get in contact with you?
Reach out. This is me taking action on Instagram and YouTube. I'll do a free 15-minute call with anyone, just to give you some strategy or some motivation. But just reach out. This is me taking action on Instagram.
There you go. I'm going to make sure. And what about your YouTube as well?
Yeah, this is me taking action on YouTube.
YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to link all that in the description box for you guys.
And anybody that needs to reach out, I'm easy to get to. I do that on purpose. So if y'all want to reach out and shoot me a message or jump on a phone call real quick, first one's free. Maybe not the second.
There you go. So look, man, this is me taking action, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Yep.
You said Facebook, right?
Yeah, definitely Facebook,
All three.
Instagram, YouTube.
Instagram, are you on TikTok too, man?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok as well.
Cool. So I'm going to just link all of that in the description box for you. Make sure you reach out to my man, Sawand. We're also going to put some content together regarding farming. So there's not a lot of black farmers in the United States.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about that. It's an interesting topic. Sawand is using his land for that very purpose. And I think that it's going to be an interesting conversation. And we're going to vlog it. So you're going to get to see what he's doing in real time. If you guys want to see that, leave a comment in the comment section. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Peace.
Take care.